1 year ago, Jacob Fatu put his feet on me. 1 year later, Afa Jr. put his hands on me. Here's to praying in 2025, Rikishi doesn't put his ass on me. Dave Sturchio, you're responsible for all of this.
The Wrestling Hour starts now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another installment of the Wrestling Hour right here on the MyFandom YouTube channel. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts, alongside Josh Chernoff, I am Dave Sturchio. Josh, how are we feeling today after quite the eventful weekend? I know we're recording this a little earlier because we got ourselves a busy week. We're heading out to Arthur Ashe Stadium to watch AEW's Grand Slam premium live event, or they still call them pay-per-views. Either way, that's where we're headed. So that's why we're recording a couple days earlier, but we're coming off the heels of I want to say a successful show. I have thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys about this. But Josh, how are you feeling after Fight Factory Wrestling's Knuckle Brawl?
My back is broken.
Spinal.
No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Danny Moff's still champion. We're going to talk all about that. I do want to say, not a premium live event, not a pay-per-view, an episode of Dynamite. That's all it is. It's an episode of Dynamite that takes place in Arthur Ashe Stadium, and they call it Grand Slam. So,
damn. All right. Well, maybe that's why we got approved.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be there as press, I guess. I don't know. We're not really sure. It's full disclosure. We're recording this on a Monday. We might actually just release this early, as well, because who cares? No information so far as to anything of what we're going to be doing there or anything. So, but what I will say is we will be reporting live from there. So follow us on the MyFandom, at MyFandom App, social media. We will be reporting live from Arthur Ashe Stadium for Grand Slam Dynamite. But man, this past weekend, and if you go right now to the MyFandom app, go to myfandomapp.com, you will see pictures that fans have posted, which is awesome. They're posting them in real time on the MyFandom app.
Did you by any chance, not to cut you off, but did you by any chance just catch the username of the person that was starting to flood the feed?
No. What was it?
Yeah, he decided to not only make a profile, which, by the way, bravo and thank you for creating your profile and uploading your pictures, but choosing the username fight_factory_wrestle probably doesn't, it doesn't rub me the right way, because clearly that's not us. Yeah. But hey, listen, technology. Am I right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
just had to create a whole new Twitter for Fight Factory as it is, and that's about to be launched. But
I have this thing in front of me. I'm going to show you real quick. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm going to use this keyboard, and there's a possibility, and I don't know. His profile name may change. Anyway.
That's called having access to the back door, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man. Speaking
like
of
that.
no. We don't need to talk about Tommy D. Because he went through the back, he was upstairs for the event. So speaking of things like Grand Slam, makes you think of things like a Knuckle Brawl. And Fight Factory Wrestling, which is Dave's promotion. I know right now you're all going like, oh, we want to hear about WWE and AEW. We're getting there. We're getting there, okay?
It's a whole 57 minutes left, guys.
Yeah,
Relax.
Come on. So here's what happened this past weekend. Knuckle Brawl, Fight Factory Wrestling took place. The ring was set up right on home plate at the Ferry Hawks. Is that what they were called? The Ferry Hawks stadium there, or whatever the case. It was huge. It was awesome. I have one critique, and that's for the audience, because you're going to look. No. Because here's the thing, right? When you look at it, you're going to see some of this footage, and you're going to see what appears to be a bunch of people dressed as empty chairs. Okay. But if you actually watch and look around behind those empty chairs, I even mentioned it on commentary, are a ton of people just standing. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm a man who likes to sit. Okay? There is no scenario where I'm going to pay money for a chair and then spend the entire night standing. Now, I get the ones that were off to the side that you couldn't see because they were over getting themselves some tequila. Shout out to
Superbird.
Superbird. I was going to say Firebird. Superbird tequila. So I get that. They were over there. They had 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila, and then they were on the floor, right? So that's it. You couldn't see them. But it is when you see the footage, and some of it's already been posted when I posted my post-match or post-event promo, if you will, after I was viciously assaulted.
Thank you for that, by the way.
For being assaulted? Thank you. You're
no,
responsible.
Well, minus the what actually happened, but I'm saying like for giving me extra like promotion for the event, you know.
Dude, absolutely. That's what we're here for. I mean, that's it. That's that's what I do. If you book me for an event, I'm going to promote the event. Now if I were to book people for events, it's just maybe it'd be great if they had done the same. But that's neither here nor there.
It's just crazy because I mean, like, I don't know if anybody's going to notice this, but both shows, whether it be the War on the Shore or Knuckle Brawl, Josh Chernoff was able and more than capable of doing color commentary with me and managing a group. And I think, and I've heard a couple people talk to me, closer people to me, saying like, Chernoff is money. Like, that dude is funny. He is on commentary. He's hilarious.
Fun fact: I'm the one who was saying it to Dave. I've been texting.
I'm trying not to give too many flowers because that's not my style right now. Usually, I'm an egomaniac and I'll take all the flowers for myself. But I will say that people that aren't normally wrestling fans have come up to me and told me that the combo of me and you doing commentary is obviously it speaks for itself because I think it's probably the best out there. I think. And I didn't have to worry about any impending storms this week, so it was nice to just focus on the wrestling.
It was nice to do commentary with you without you staring at your phone at the weather app and sweat just pouring down the whole time.
And it was so for that is one, but then like I'll just call her out. My wife, she said she saw your jacket in person, and she's like, it's great in person, but then like a couple photos have surfaced, and she goes, he knows how to take a photograph. You know what I mean? Like, he knows how to position himself to make it. There's one photograph, and I sent you this morning, and I'm sure you'll post it. But it's just like, there's we finally got we were able to have not only the smoke from the first show, but now some cold spark, some pyro, have you?
That was
and
so
like,
cool.
Here's Josh Chernoff making his appearance to the world, and he's getting pyro and smoke, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are we doing? But it goes to show you that it can be done. Not only does it go shows that it can be done, but it's not self-serving. It's actually enhances the product, which
I appreciate that.
I know it's going to blow the mind of many, but that's my last good thing I'll say about you on this show. But you enhance the product, Josh.
I appreciate that. I really do. And it's easy to do when the product is as good as Fight Factory Wrestling, and the crew behind that, not just putting you over and Chris Payne and never Tommy D, but the whole crew, everybody in the locker room, everybody on production, everybody really comes together and puts on an incredible show. So I do encourage people to watch it when it comes out this week on YouTube, on the MyFandom YouTube. The Knuckle Brawl show will be out. And it was just a solid event. Nobody phones it in at these shows, which is awesome. I mentioned, I think even on commentary, the real one, formerly known as Enzo, aside from the fact that you may or may not see his entrance because we might have to cut the audio out of it. But he tore it up in there. And sometimes you'd have these people who are like ex-stars who are just in there and like, all right, brother, let me get my payday. Oh man, he went in, he had his working boots on. Same with AJ Francis. It's everyone in general. But yeah, it's an interesting thing being a manager, manager and commentator combo, because obviously the first one that comes to mind, except for the people who go, "Oh, bro, that's unheard of." The first one that comes to mind is Bobby the Brain Heenan. What's really challenging is to, like, when you have people like Bobby Heenan and Paul Heyman who are, I mean, they're 1A, 1B, if there's such thing as a 1AA. Like they're so, it is so tough to say, who is number one, right? It's a personal preference at this point, but I don't think you can debate that there's nobody above those two. So it becomes this like really challenging thing to, how do I insert my personality into something, um, and not ever seem like I'm copying. I'll give you a for instance. We did a walkout, which was really cool, with Danny Moff and the whole crew walking to the ring. And right before we went out, there was a discussion of, should Moff have the belt on his shoulder, because he wears the whole robe and everything, but he wanted the belt to be displayed. So he didn't want it under the robe, because then he's walking out, you don't see it until like the reveal. He really wanted, we wanted that visual. So, and I think it was Moff, or maybe one of the other guys, who was like, Chernoff should hold it. And my first thought in my mind was, how do I walk out holding this championship and not look like a Paul Heyman cosplayer walking out with Roman Reigns, right? And it's
Fair.
like, so it's a challenge that I found. I really appreciate everything that you said, because in commentary, it's easy for me to just be me and just have fun. And when I have somebody like you to work off of, it's I don't want to say it's easy, like, we don't prepare, or like anyone can do it, because clearly not everyone can. Just watch some of the shows out there, but that's one thing. It's another thing when you're being seen. So part of it for me has been those things like the jackets, right? Which maybe is a little shout out to a Bobby Heenan, or even a Jimmy Hart in that regard. Classy Freddie Blassie, with a lot of like the more sparkly stuff and all. So it's pulling from a lot of that. But part of the jackets and the ties and all of that is to take away from the similarities to a Paul Heyman, because I am wearing a suit, because we are in a time in wrestling today where I'm not going to cut the promo like an old school manager promo, So if I'm going to cut a promo or say anything, there's that risk of, oh God, is he just trying to be, oh, he thinks he's Paul Heyman. Oh, he thinks he's, so it is tough to kind of do that. But I think I think with that crew and everything, we've managed to get to a point where we really have come into our own of being ourselves. And that's something I think that goes all across pro wrestling in general, is everybody's trying to find that. It's why I think a guy like Joe Hendry has caught on so much, because we are so used to seeing what seems like, Stone Cold light, The Rock light, right? Where people's just like, oh man, that was it. Even if they're not trying to do it, right? LA Knight, his voice just sounds like it, I guess. But I mean, LA Knight, to me, the first time I saw him, I'm like, what does this dude think he's The Rock? Like, what are you doing? And then it's his, it's like, what do you think you're, what? Like, and again, no, not knocking him. The dude's an amazing talent, but it's challenging. So when you see a guy like Joe Hendry, where you really can't go, oh, Joe Hendry reminds me of, he doesn't. He reminds me of Joe Hendry. And that's when you're like, holy crap, I'm on to something here, because it is so damn hard to be the first anything anymore. So
Yeah, and I think honestly, and this is just again looking at it from a broader pro wrestling landscape, but besides Paul Heyman right now, is there anybody that like really catches your eye? And I'm not like knocking like, who's the Authors of Pain, the
Paul
Legion of
Ellering.
Doom,
Yeah.
Paul Ellering. He's been around forever, right? But he doesn't like, if you take away Paul Ellering from that group, they're not going to be missing anything,
No.
right? They're not, and that's the truth.
And that's not like, a knock on Paul Ellering, because
no, it's not. It's just
he
it's
could contribute more, but
No, I'm just saying, like, I feel like managers on the big stage, whether it be WWE, AEW, TNA, throw NWA in there, throw GCW in there, throw like these bigger promotions in there. I feel like there's a lot of there's a lot of managers that don't really add
Right.
to their thing, right? If you took the manager out, you would still think, whoa, this performer's great. You forget all about the manager, but the manager is good when if you take the manager away, they become less impactful. And I say that about Roman Reigns, who is on fire and fuego, the most, he is just the most over he's ever been. However, there was something a little bit more when Paul Heyman would be the guy to introduce him, the one and just let him do the acknowledge me thing.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And that is less is more. And you look at Paul Heyman and you're like, you take Paul Heyman away from Roman and Roman's just a little less. I'm not saying Roman's anything less than anybody else on the roster because he's great, but
I get it
you take away, you know what I'm saying? You take away, and I'm not discrediting guys like Danny Moff, Sean Donovan, Victor Benjamin, Trax, those guys of your caliber, your boys. But if you take you out of there, I feel like they become another tag team. Sean Donovan becomes the Messiah of old school. They still have their own thing, but you just, and again, I'm fucking fluffing you again, but you add to it. And I don't think there's a lot of managers that are able to do that. And that's how you can determine who's a good manager and who's not. When you pluck away the manager and they become less of a character because they don't have that mouthpiece, that's a good manager. So yes, Heyman currently right now. You look at AEW, I don't necessarily like what's his name? Cyrus.
Don Callis. Yeah, Don Callis.
Don Callis. Like his Don Callis family to me never caught on because I think they're changing members every other Wednesday.
And again, that's not a Don Callis thing. That's a creative thing.
No, it's not. But what I will say is if you take Don Callis away from, I don't know, Okada or Powerhouse Hobbs or whoever's been in that thing, the family or whatever, they're still going to be able to do what they do. And that's their, he's not adding much to it is what I'm saying right now.
Right. And here's where, and again, I sincerely appreciate, how different is this than the first season of the Wrestling Hour?
Josh Chernoff appreciation night over there.
And me being humble and shucks, come on. No, but I really do appreciate it because one of the things is, and maybe this is what helps me, is how neurotic I am about making sure that I'm not taking away, right? Like the first show for Fight Factory, I had, the jacket that I was wearing with Devastation Inc. one. People were yelling in the crowd about my jacket, and my thought was, crap. I don't want, no, focus on the ring. Don't focus. And they just keep yelling at me with my jacket. And then I'm thinking to myself, crap, I shouldn't have worn this type of a jacket. It's standing out too much. It's taking it away from it. So I'm always trying to make sure that I'm adding to and not distracting from. But I think to everything you're saying about these other things like Don Callis and his group or Paul Ellering and his group, there's a creative aspect to it. So for me, one, I've got you and everybody that's running Fight Factory that is open to hearing suggestions and ideas, and also has their own good creative.
Imagine that. That's crazy, right?
And then, I've never had I've never talked to you and you're just like, oh yeah, Payne's not going to go for it. I've never heard something like that. So I haven't. Also, the guys in the Devastation Inc. crew that are looking at it going, how can we use you? How can we do it? Some of the conversations I had with Sean Donovan, where he just really was not just oh, hey, come on in and trip him out or do something like that. He looked at the match that he was having and he said, okay, where can we put you in? And I'm singling him out, but all of them did this. And not just the people in Devastation Inc., but the other people in the matches with them as well, looked at it and said, okay, where can Chernoff contribute to the match, to the heat, to the whatever the case might be? Where can he contribute? And that's where, again, like you mentioned, you take me out of it, all of these guys are incredible talents. They don't need me at all, but I like to think that working with me, that it is adding to the overall package. It is giving something to them. Again, they don't need me. They go watch their other stuff without me there. You can see they're all stars on their own. But I'm hopefully able to contribute.
From a creative standpoint, and that's coming from me, Payne, Tommy, right? From a creative standpoint, we've also tried to plant seeds to kind of fill the fan in before it even happens. Because look, War on the Shore was difficult because it's like led to the ring by Josh Chernoff. And if you're a first time fan, you're like, who the fuck is Josh Chernoff? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. But in this regard, I know it's minuscule, but like when you cut promos, like in the like as you're trying to build for the show, those promos are great. But at the same time, it's the tiniest little detail. What's that tiny detail I'm talking about? I put you in every single match graphic so people would understand, oh, he's also their manager. Oh, they're also part of this. Oh, like
It's educating them.
And shout out to the Ferry Hawk Stadium for literally putting match graphics on the big ass Tron. So people knew right away for when you walked out the curtain, if they're already smartened up to the match that's about to happen, they're like, I know who that guy is. He was in the match. He must be their manager. So it's like we're trying to install that, and it takes reps. And now people, once you have 2 shows that are in the books now, and the second show is about to be on YouTube for almost, the other show over 5,000 views. Like the next one's going to hopefully just do the same, if not more. But like now the people are starting to understand that these are this is what's happening. This is the story. And oh, by the way, they're continuing it story to story to story to event to event to event. We're not trying to do these super indie cards.
It's all about educating fans, and it's not easy to educate when you're doing a show once every couple of months, right? So you take whatever opportunity you can throughout the show to help educate them. Like, hey, this manager's with this guy. I think the first show people knew by the end, Devastation Inc., they knew these guys were all like, at least I was that thread between all of them to make it make sense for them to come out at the end. But the show was awesome. And there were other things going on that night as well. There was the AEW had their show, which your champion, Lady Frost, competed against their champion. So, that gives you a bit of an idea of the talent that you guys have. Fight Factory.
And we saw another. We're back to back on hitting home runs with our female talent, man. Like we really are. I think like that first show with Lady Frost and Masha, great match. But then we pretty much doubled down and got Freya the Slayer from OVW to take on Janai Kai from MLW. And Let me tell you something, they crushed it. And it took a tap out performance, for Kai to get that win. So down the road, your number one contender is going to be Kai against Frost. And I mean, just the writing's on the wall. That's going to be an incredible match. But yeah, I mean, look, the event comes and goes. We're very happy with the production. We're happy with how it ran. We're happy with, Chris Payne and Tommy D were great on their own headsets, making sure communication was key. No match. And this is just pulling back the curtain. Not one match went over on time, because we made sure that based off of the 6-man that we had, the 6-man scramble at the thing went 40 fucking minutes, right? We made sure that this was not going to be a thing again. So kudos to those guys for doing it. Obviously GPW Productions, they're just top-notch aces on the coverage all the time. I got to shout out Gino Gotts. It's been a long time since me and him sat next to each other to do commentary, probably since 2018, I believe, is the last time we sat next to each other, and we picked up where we left off. He's a funny dude. And he's you know what it is? He's a team player too. You know what I mean? Like he is the kind of guy. It's like, hey man, whatever you need, just let me know. Unless it's sending him to go get AJ Francis at LaGuardia, and him like LaGuardia, and he like gave me a song and dance. So that didn't happen.
Hey, AJ Francis, let me tell you something. Because he hoisted me up for a choke slam that would never land, thanks to Danny Moff for having my back. But I will say, that's really high up. And, let's say hypothetically.
You were no less than 11 feet in the air.
Dude, let's say I might as well have been standing on the top rope. Like it was, that was so high up there. And my thought is like, okay, so Danny Moff low blows him. So you ever like think, a bunch of thoughts like way quicker than, you can speak them. So many thoughts went through my head within like a second, which was, okay, thank God not getting choke slammed. Oh crap, still have to somehow come down from here. Like, you know what I mean? It was like the thought, it's not like, oh, he gets low blowed, so he then just gently places me back down on my feet, like, oh, hey, we're not going to do this. So yeah, that was like, oh man, I'm really high up. Oh, I'm falling. So, but it
Dude, between
was,
that, listen, between that, the way you got into the ring was pretty fun. Like
yeah,
I
I
was
mean, I
like,
just, yeah, you like to call it the fun way. I just,
it is the fun way.
went in for, well, what happened was I was actually attempting a buckshot lariat, and, was going, but then at the very last second, I said, you know what, this isn't about me. And I'm going to step back and let's focus
And
on
it all
the,
started. Listen, it all started. Those thoughts started marinating in pre-show, when me and you got to kind of, I don't want to say roll around or anything like that, but we got to, get in there, feel it out a little
we
bit,
didn't
and you're
roll
just
around. I
like,
made sure
oh
my back
wow,
was never on the mat. We didn't roll around at all.
yeah, well,
We
that's
did a
true.
nice collar and elbow, which was good. Collar and elbow tie up. And then I instantly went,
Grab
oh,
your back,
my back. I can't, I give.
Howard. I tell you,
I
dude,
was
I took
scared you were going to make me actually bump.
my, I would have, but that was my first flat back bump since 2016. And man, it's like, the term shockwaves, right?
Mhm.
Like when I hit, like you just heard this, my
Yep,
whole body is
dude.
just, it's like you take like a cymbal and you just, right? That's what it sounded like and felt like. And I was like, but that like relatively quick, I was like, oh, it,
And that's
muscle
the thing.
memory, I'm good.
I mean, dude,
And,
I'm in much better
but
shape
man,
now than I was a year ago. When I got kicked in the face by Jacob Fatu, that bump off of that was like, so I was, my last singles match that I had was the day before my 25th birthday. And as we record this coming Friday, I'm turning 41. Okay. So, so when I got kicked in the face last year, it was like 2 weeks before my 40th birthday. So you're going from 25 to 40 in between bumps. Okay. So I took that bump. Muscle memory does kick in, right? You perfect flat back bump, great. And my body just like said to me, like, who do you think you are? Like, do you think you're 25 or 30 or 35? Like, no, sir, you're 40. And like everything, like shock, like right through. Again, it's those quick thoughts. It's like, there's the kick. You're going for the bump. Your body goes, I still got it. And then you hit, and your body goes, no, 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 I don't. No, I don't. Abort mission. Um, but yeah,
again,
it's
from a fan standpoint on the outside, I had my wife ask me, has Josh ever wrestled before? And I said, yeah, actually, he's gotten relatively far. Like OVW used to be a bigger thing. Like he was down there
and
training.
then I got
She goes,
there and it
no.
was
Well, no, she goes, I could tell because it didn't look like his first time getting thrown around. You know what I mean? I was like,
oh,
yeah,
well, I
no,
appreciate that.
it picks up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you eventually you
and
get
it's
used to it
nice
again.
sometimes, when you get to this advanced age, it is nice to be like, oh yeah, because you spend a decade and a half telling the old, how many touchdowns in a single game Al Bundy story, right?
Right.
And you reach a point now. My kids are older; they're starting to watch wrestling, and you want to be like, your dad was a worker back in the day, and all that,
Yeah.
and it's like it's a nice thing to be able to do something as simple as just, you know, one little bump or one, post off of a chokeslam or something to just be like, oh yeah, you know what? I actually was kind of okay at this, right? Like once upon a time,
Right.
like maybe I had the tiniest bit of talent. So, it's,
It's funny because it's incredibly funny because I don't know, maybe it was just maybe the difference of styles of whatever, but like I've played football, right? I've played all the sports, and then you get into a wrestling ring and started training in 2012. And like when people are like, man, you actually sell really good. Like people would tell me, like you're selling your facials, they're very good. And I'm like, you know why? Because it actually fucking hurts. That's why. Like I don't care what you think about pro wrestling. Like when you take a bump, I don't care how many. Yeah, the bump and feed. any wrestler will know what this is, like that comeback where you got to bump around. You're going so fast, or you're trying to go so fast that like you don't register. But like every time you hit the mat, Shawn Michaels was one of the people that have said this. You do have a bump card, right?
Yep.
You do have a bump card. So eventually that shit's going to run out and you can't do it anymore. So the fact that I was able to just do that in the beginning, just to kind of roll around and fuck around and chain wrestle and all that. And I was like, you know what? I could definitely do this again. That was the first text I sent. I was like, I'm back. It's time. Let's go. I'm ready. And then
So
like,
I thought
8 minutes later, I was like,
I thought my bump card was full. It was like one of those things. Like I thought, like everything's been punched. You punch the card, and then it was like a year ago. I found there was like a tiniest flap, curved. That I was able to, and I was like, oh, okay. I got like three more hole punches here I can do. So we're 2 down, right? we got last year was the kick. This year,
Sure enough, listen, you play your cards right, son. You might see one-on-one with destruction once. You never
know. It crosses my mind way too frequently for how beat up my body is. But
I know.
But it's a fun thing, and I do encourage people to watch the show, and there's the old support indie wrestling, but support indie wrestling because especially like all the guys you're seeing on TV right now that are like big stars. Look at Cody Rhodes. Okay, Cody came up not in indie wrestling, but thanks to his time in indie wrestling became who he was always meant to be. And he said that, that's not me putting words in his mouth. I mean, he's what he learned out there of how to self-promote. Matt Cardona is another one, learning how to self-promote.
Did you see Matt Cardona's new promo?
Yeah, it's great. He's complete, the complete Matt Cardona.
The complete Matt Cardona. Like that is, if that's not a resume to send right to like WWE's LinkedIn inbox, you know what I mean? Like, hey, this is what I came up with. This is where we're at. Yeah, all right. You could take away the blood and the guts and the cursing and the FU signs, right? And just you can use this if you want. You know what I mean? As like a hype video. So shout out to whoever edited that because it was beyond incredible. And if something can make, and this is wrestling 101, if something can make you, and like you see The Rock do it a million times where he does this and he's like, you see all these, you see all these, like with the goosebumps, right? All that. That's when you got something. And I said on Twitter bluntly, I was like, okay, the winner of the promo of the year is Matt Cardona. It's not close. Like that's not like he ran away with that. And it reminded me, there was a little bit of mix in with everything. There was like you remember when Triple H tore his quad? I forget which time because I know there was a couple times.
It was the first one with the beautiful day.
The beautiful day one was there, but like I think it was
the second one though. We will rebuild him. It was like the $6 million man. Dude. Yeah,
it felt like that. It felt like we can rebuild him. Like you got the. Do
you know what they were using? Do you know what they were using? That was the 3D render of his. I want to say Super 7 action figure.
Actually,
that's what was spinning around. It was the 3D render of that, which I thought was,
but like not for nothing,
perfect,
but like that's what you get a little bit of that. You get a little bit. It's just look. I can't say it enough. Yeah, and this is not kissing ass. I booked him once. He's great. You know what I mean? Like he put our company over really nicely. But like Matt Cardona has completely reinvented himself to the point where I am jonesing for him to be on the big stage. And when I say big stage, again, no disrespect to AEW or TNA, but the big stage is WWE. And I feel like he is on a collision course with them. And he would tell you the same thing. And again, he doesn't want to, like, you don't try to burn bridges in that regard because anybody would love a contract from AEW, considering the fact that I'm sure everybody's overpaid there. And it's not a knock on the value. I'm just saying that Tony Khan will go out and pony up just to make sure you don't go up north. Yeah. But like, I will say that like Cardona's comeback will be complete. No pun, sort of, whatever, when he gets back to WWE. So I agree. That's my stance on that.
I agree. Hey, there's been a lot, we talked a lot about Samoans already and how often they hit me and kick me. But Rikishi has kind of been in the news lately, talking about, first kind of sent like almost seemed like he was like sending like a prayer request out for Jimmy, which was then kind of like, everyone's like, no, Jimmy's fine. Like, Jimmy's good. Like, don't worry about it. Which was a weird, so like, the way I look at it is listen, man, that's his kid, it's Rikishi's kid. So if he's, whatever the case is, obviously good thoughts always to Jimmy. it was a
Do
weird.
you
It
think,
just it felt weird.
do you think there's anything to it? And I'm not trying to start any rumors or anything like that, but like Jimmy got rolled off TV as part of
Hmm.
the storyline, right?
Hmm.
And now that's a long time. I feel like it's been a long time since we've seen
Yeah.
Jimmy, right? Maybe he's physically fine, but do you think maybe it's starting to play a little bit of a mental game on him that he's been off TV for a little while? And like, yeah, you could be in the gym. Yeah, you can train in a ring. Yeah, you can go down to the PC, do your thing if you want. But like, you're not relevant right now until they bring you back, until they feel like bringing you back. So you think he's doing some
Here's what.
mental Olympics right
Here's
now in his
why I
head?
don't think he's doing that,
Okay.
because I think he knows when he does come back how big that's going to be. As big as that jug of whatever the hell it is you just drank. It's gonna be.
Electrolyte, baby.
There you
Electrolytes.
go. I gotta have
Gotta
that.
hydrate.
So I just have my MyFandom water.
I didn't.
MyFandomApp.com.
You call it my Phantom Water, and I should just slap them. I got plenty of stickers.
Just put a
Keep
sticker on
going.
the.
Go on.
Yeah.
Proceed. Proceed.
So no, I think when he comes back, already we saw the promo, phenomenal presentation of the Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes in the middle of the
Oh,
football field.
incredible.
So cool there. But when Roman said they took Jimmy from me and they showed that they took my wise man, you know, to me, Jimmy's coming back. He's going to come back. He's going to be a part of that. And I don't think Jimmy is any less talented than Jay. I think it's just been circumstance and positioning. And I think that maybe
Mhm.
this will be an opportunity for Jimmy to kind of come back and be seen in a slightly different light as a solo. No pun intended there, but as a solo competitor, not a solo Sikoa. But also Rikishi, there was like a headline at first I saw it. I was like, dude, what is going on here? But Rikishi had said something about how like he thought they were like rushing Jacob Fatu. If you read deeper into what he actually said, it makes perfect sense, which was do not give Jacob Fatu to Cody. Don't feed him to Cody. Now that's not, you think that's where the money is.
Right.
That's not where the money is. The money is
No.
Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns. And
100%. And you
Jacob,
could tell that just based off just the little interaction that they had, it's
Mhm.
like you're ready. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Great one.
think we may find ourselves through Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa first. So I think, there might be something there where Jacob almost gets kind of like almost a bit of a face run. Like, I don't know what they're going to do, but obviously at some point he's going to break away from Solo. Solo is keeping him under his thumb, taking the championship away from him. There you go. I like that. Like that sticker right
So
there.
my fandom electrolytes.
Awesome. Available
Yep.
now wherever
Available
you
now.
get stickers to stick it on your bottle. Hey, I will say though, my fandom, prowrestlingtees.com/myfandom. Go check it out. We got some great shirts on there. Keep on trucking, Dave Sturcio. It's a new one with the MyFandom logo. We've got Banger from back when you used to say that. And then
I said it on the commentary this weekend. It was just that you were getting ready with Danny Moff. So.
okay. And then we've got some fun ones on there. Also, new show that I'm a part of because I got super jealous of you. You were doing like 40 shows a week. So I was like, hey,
Don't
maybe
be
I'll do
jealous,
one too.
bro. I'm struggling.
Yeah, I was, it was so anyone who's watching this right now sees that I have my Rode microphone back here, and I actually had to buy a new bass because I couldn't find the bass, because when I switched up my office, I took this down and was just like, yeah, man, I'm never doing a podcast again. I have no interest in that. And so now I do two. Personal Training Unlocked with Matt Mangle. Totally different thing. I'm just kind of there to help steer the ship. And by steer the ship, I mean keep him the hell out of the weeds, because he'll just, go off. But Matt's a funny guy. And he's an exercise physiologist. He's a personal trainer. And that's really Personal Training Unlocked is where Matt is going to kind of dive into, all of these different tips and tricks of how to be healthy. The first episode was called The Parent Trap. It's, hey, you're a parent. How the hell do you try and stay healthy and try and make the time for yourself when you obviously have other responsibilities outside of that,
Sure.
be it your job, your children, your spouse. So yeah, it's a fun show. A little shout out there, but But yeah, man. So let's see. We talked about Rikishi. We talked about all that. Okay, so we are recording this on a Monday, so we don't know what's going to happen on Raw tonight. We'll talk about that next week if anything exciting happens. Shows have been really
But
solid.
yeah, I will say, just to go back to what you mentioned before about the Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns Georgia Tech meeting.
Yeah.
It's like WWE keeps outdoing themselves. They really do. And like everybody in my house, again, trying to get the kids involved, like with wrestling. I only have my daughter's 5, my son is about to be 3. So it's like they're very young. So they're very like, they don't, if the Wyatts come on, I'm like, hey, look away, or like, hey, go somewhere else, But like for that, even like, my wife was not a huge wrestling fan. She was a big Enzo fan, so that was a big cool thing for her. She loved his shtick when he was at WWE. But when that promo hit, nobody was speaking in my house. Even the kids were like, locked it in. My wife with the laundry basket, like, just like everything is just zeroed in, and that's how good WWE continues to be when it comes to either selling fights or selling stories. And again, not to toot my own horn because I'm not going to do that, but that's a primary focus for me as a promoter. Mm-hmm. I want to continue stories. I think there's nothing better in professional wrestling than a storyline. And again, a lot of people are out there talking, their stuff against AEW, and a lot of the people actually commented on our TikTok videos and Instagram videos about said topic of how AEW just, they throw a lot of cool matches up together, but like sometimes they miss the story. And
not to say there's no story, because then someone's going to jump, how can you say there's no story? What about this? There's absolutely story.
There's 100%, but I feel like when there's stories
more
in
just
AEW,
random match than there is story.
When there's stories in AEW, I feel like they quadrupled down on that said story, which means it'll be the primary focus, but they'll forget about everybody else for a little while. You know what I mean? And that stinks.
And
but
here's what's
whatever,
really frustrating to me about that. As somebody who's run promotions in the past and somebody who gets to kind of have front row seat to watching what you guys are doing with Fight Factory. And, it frustrates me when you look at the hours of television and the reach of social media that these promotions have. Because if you look at the story, just the Fight Factory Wrestling main story, right? Danny Moff wins the championship, is attacked by Lance Anawahi. Why? Because Danny Moff's been going around telling everybody he's a Samoan killer. He's the final person to defeat Jacob Fatu before this incredible run in WWE. So he's taking claim now, I'm the Samoan killer. Well, Lance Anawahi looks at it and says, not going to work for me, brother, right? Hops the guardrail, comes in, kicks him in the face, splashes him, holds up the title. So what happens? Lance Anawahi, you guys have no choice but to say, dude, we get what you're trying to do. You can't do that. So you're banned from the event. Danny Moff goes, well, it's very nice of you to ban him from the event. You're not giving me an opportunity to get back at him for what he did. So Moff takes it upon himself to go over to Battlefield Pro Wrestling, right? Beats the crap out of Lance Anawahi. Well, Battlefield is owned by Alpha Jr., Lance's cousin, or uncle, I believe, actually, Lance's uncle. So Alpha Jr. looks at it and says, you came into my home and attacked my family. I don't care what my family did to you. That's my family. This is my home. You don't do this. I'm coming after you. To which I then had the pleasure of saying, that's not how this works. I don't care how pissed off you are. No, but hey, you want to take your anger out, go take it out on Sean Donovan, right? Not going to work. And it didn't. Sean Donovan defeated him cleanly, no matter what. I know there's certain angles that may have looked like Sean Donovan was pulling his tights. Neither here nor there. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And now Alpha Jr. comes out at the end, even though he lost to Sean Donovan, comes out and is challenging Danny Moff. Moff's always up for a fight. But, I look at that and say, nah, you didn't earn it. Of course, you stand up, decide, oh, no, we're going to go with this anyway, because who cares about the rules and who cares about laws and whatnot. But my point is, in all of that, the story that has been told over the last couple of months with 2 shows and social media, 3 shows, I guess, if you count Battlefield, right? WWE and AEW both have more than that amount of time in 1 week. And so I look at it and I say, there is no excuse nowadays. Now, and look, if you just want to be an indie promotion and just put on your show and, hey, come see this, and during intermission, you can get into the ring with so and take a picture and we'll have a Polaroid or whatever, like back in the day, fine. But I think what you're doing with Fight Factory and what a lot of other indie promotions do out there, I don't want to say that they're not. There are others that are trying to do this, which is really to just say like, hey, there's a story here, and people are starting to utilize social media even more, which Matt Cardona was doing 20 years ago. But they're starting to utilize it even more, which I think is great. But it does frustrate me when I see something like an AEW that has so much TV time that when you go like, what, there wasn't enough time to tell this story, to educate me on who this talent is, yet somehow you've managed to, you had 2.5 hours over 2.5 months and figured out how to tell these stories and make every single one of these matches matter, but they can't figure out how to do that in their lead up when they've got 10 hours of television a week. So that's just kind of, to me, it's never going to say it's laziness.
Inexcusable. It's inexcusable.
But I'm not going to say it's laziness, because Lord knows they are working like crazy, and a guy like Tony Khan is burning the candle at both ends and a little in the middle as well. But I just look at it and I say it's not laziness, but it's a lack of concentration on
awareness. Yeah.
Right. A lack of concentration on each piece of the product. And that, in my opinion, that's just my humble opinion, for just me. What do I know? I wasn't in the PWI, top 10 color commentators. I'm sure they had a managers too. I wasn't in there either, but
yeah. Listen, don't even bother putting any more
I'm going to tell you, PWI Kevin doesn't know shit, didn't respond to a single thing about it. He was tagged in it. Kevin and I know each other. He has my phone number. And Kevin decided not to engage. Do you know why? Because
you're right and he's wrong.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, I'm curious. Now that you just revealed that you know the guy. Mm-hmm. Is it literally one man's opinion on how to rank these people? Is that what it is?
No. So there is a group. I believe there's like a group of them, like all the different editors. So I know how it was back in the day from when Bill Apter was there, and the way that worked was Bill and all of the staff would all work together and come up with what they felt was a list. So there was always, and there always will be, an aspect of kayfabe to it, because you're listing people based on, it's not a win-loss record thing. And if it was, win-loss record doesn't mean anything anyway, right? Because if it was win-loss record, Tony Khan could go, oh, I'm going to make sure that my guy is number one next year, because I'm just going to have him wrestle 1,000 matches this year and win every single one. Like, it doesn't work that way. But like, unfortunately, or fortunately, the way that the business has changed depends on your view of it. But back in the day, it was a little bit different. There were people like a Bill Apter. It's why he's so revered, and no disrespect to the people that are at PWI now, but they are not going to be 50 years from now doing what Bill Apter is doing 50 years later in his career. They're not going to be revered in the way that Bill Apter is, because maybe it's because it was the time. Maybe it's because Bill was one of the few that was the face of it. And Bill's always been very humble about it and said, I hate it being called the Apter Mags, because I was just like a little piece of it. I just happened to be the one presenting the awards. I happened to be the one doing the interviews. So everyone made it the Apter Mags. And I think Bill's minimizing what his contributions actually were with that. But I think the group that's doing it now, much like we've talked about in the past with, the people who are attending events as press, you have a bunch of people, like, I'm sorry, you have a bunch of fans, and Bill Apter will be the first one to tell you that's what he was. He was a fan, but when he got into the business, he started becoming a part of the business, not just a fan. Not saying he stopped being one, because he never stopped being a fan. But you have to be able to put that business hat on. And that's what I'm not sure the people at PWI now do that, because it's just a glorified website at this point, right? Like it's
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, and I was going to suggest maybe they do like fan voting, because then the most popular should be the number one guy.
well,
But
but
like at
then
the
that's
same
the
time, like
Wrestling Observer newsletter, right? And
that
again,
would
you
be,
have all
that would be skewed.
but you're right, because it's skewed by the people who clearly subscribe literally and proverbially to the words of Dave Meltzer, right? And I personally do not believe that Dave Meltzer, I'm not saying he's a bad person. I don't know him personally. I've met him a couple of times. One time where he just walked right in and stood in front of Calvin at the AEW press conference, or any other time that he's attempted to just kind of big dog, which may have just been him being kind of socially inept. Maybe he was worried sick, thinking about how, oh my God, did I leave the heater on because my entire office will go up in flames because it is just covered in paper. But I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. But
I'll tell you right now, I'll make just a bold take.
Mhm.
If Meltzer, for whatever reason, and I don't know his relationship with AEW, I don't even know if he covers them. If he covers them even more, they're like, all he does is shit on them, right? Like as far as the ratings, right?
AEW?
Is that, yeah,
Meltzer?
yeah. No, I don't know. I don't pay attention enough
Dude.
attention. What?
No, Meltzer, I mean, at the risk of sounding inappropriate, that man, I mean, is you ever see a popcorn ceiling? Like something like that?
Sure.
That's what his ceiling looks like after watching AEW. That man is all over AEW. Like he loves them. They can do no wrong. The Young Bucks
Okay, so that goes
Yeah.
back to my bold thing. If Meltzer is at press on Wednesday for whatever reason, and he tries to get in front of me, see, Calvin's a little man. I won't stand for that.
Well, first of all, you won't have to, because Calvin is a little man. Dave Meltzer's also a little man, but Calvin is a littler man. So Dave Meltzer could try and, I mean, if he stood in front of you,
I thought he was like in shape and shit, or trying to like.
No, but I'm talking from a
give
height
off?
standpoint. He's
Oh,
shorter
he's a
than
little
me.
guy. Oh,
Yeah. So
really?
yeah. So
That's
I mean, he's what, like 5'6" or something? Like he's not a big guy. So if he stood in front of you, it really doesn't matter at all. So it won't be offensive to you.
Okay.
But no, I have no issue.
Over him. I'm over.
Yeah, but he is just no, everyone always, he craps on everything WWE, loves everything AEW, and that's, there's always the exception to prove the rule. But listen, it's his style. AEW is designed for Meltzer. I mean, it's literally designed for his taste in wrestling. And who am I to say that because I don't like that it's wrong? It's not for me. There are plenty of television shows winning awards that I don't watch because I'm like, don't really care about it. Not for me.
I don't think it's right. And this goes across the board of all sports media, right? This is sports media, wrestling media, all that shit. I don't think it's right by any stretch that you get credibility based on longevity, right? Like just because you've been around for just, many, many cups of coffee. Yeah. Right. It doesn't give you he's got to be right because, he's been around the block.
Dude, look at me. I've been in the business for 25 years. 25 years. I was 15 when I started, and absolutely nobody assumes that I have to be right. So
you're also, and this again, not a dig at you or your confidence, but like Meltzer is world known as far as like his wrestling stature, but it's like, hey, old man, time to move aside. And that's not a shot at like Bill Apter, because Bill Apter's still doing his thing. And I know he's obviously getting older as we get old. Everybody gets older, right?
Just turned 108.
Exactly. Yeah. So like he looks fantastic for 109. So like, yeah, just like that, he aged another year. No, but I'm saying like, I just don't think that these guys, and I'm not talking about Apter. I think Apter's a phenomenal human being. And every time we've ever interacted, either be by your side or even in passing. But like a guy like a Meltzer, reminds me of like a Mike Francesa or a Mad Dog Russo or a Stephen A. Smith or any of these guys that just love the clicks and the attention, and they're whores. They're absolute whores, and they will do whatever it takes to get the attention of the people. And I think Meltzer's made a career off of that, which is even more mind-numbing.
Yeah, but I mean, in some regards, I go, hey, more power to you, right? At the end of the day, his thing is called the Wrestling Observer. He is a guy who observes wrestling, gives his opinion. It's not fact. He doesn't know these things. He sometimes guys would feed him stories and still do. But he is entitled to his opinion. And if people are going to decide that they want to take his opinion as gospel and he can make money off of that, part of me turns around and goes, good on you, Meltzer. Like, why not? I wish people were paying me the same amount of money for, the Josh Observer.
Right.
And nobody wants to, you don't want to see what I'm observing. You don't know the things I've seen, Dave. And that was just in the locker room on Saturday.
Great locker room, by the way.
Great locker room, both in talent and actual physical locker room itself was really, really
which
good.
is crazy because
I had my own office.
I've seen some shit as far as like some shit locker rooms. And when you get to get dressed in a actual minor league baseball stadium locker room, and by the way, Payne had the most fun having our own manager office. Like he was just he channeled his inner Vincent Kennedy McMahon without literally shitting on anybody. Wow. But like he had a great time. We all had a great time. It was a great atmosphere. And
it was really awesome.
I can't wait to see the final product again. So
well then let's wrap this up so I can go edit it.
Let's do that. So listen, there's going to be a lot of things happening at MyFandom. Please be sure to download the MyFandom app. iOS right now, it is days away from Android. I feel like, even though that's probably it's got to be there.
I saw some stuff today. It is getting there. It is getting there.
It is right there. So it'll be available on all platforms very, very soon. If you're somebody, look, NFL is 3 weeks in. Major League Baseball playoffs just about to get started. The NBA is just about to get started in their preseason. I actually saw a Rangers game yesterday in the preseason for hockey. So it's all there. This is some of the best times of the year because now you get all the 4 major sports playing at the same time in October and early November. So if you're somebody that goes to these games and frequents season ticket holder or just randomly goes, like this Thursday night, against my smarts, against my own brain, I'm going to go to MetLife Stadium and watch the Cowboys and Giants. And God forbid that the Cowboys lose that game after the way they just played the last 2 weeks. I might lose myself and throw myself onto Route 3. But what I will say is if you're there, post your pictures, post your videos. If you get any memorabilia there from the event, make sure you tag that as well. The app keeps growing. The users keep growing. We're very excited about the future of it. And of course, we've piggybacked off of the actual app itself and launched this network of programming where you can see the Wrestling Hour, you can see the Jersey Boys podcast, you can see My Fandom Cast, you can see Personal Training Unlocked, you can see the Fight Factory podcast whenever the hell we get back to rolling with that because it's just been a crazy couple weeks. But it's all here. It's all here, and it's all because of MyFandomApp.com. So be sure to go check that out.
And we will see you. Stay tuned to MyFandom App. At MyFandom App on social media because we will be coming to you live. And by live, I mean probably record it and then upload it based on Wi-Fi capabilities this Wednesday for the premium live event pay-per-view extravaganza known as AEW Dynamite on TBS. So check it out. Grand Slam. We're going to be there. And I will say, not the last time I was there, but the time before that, hanging out in the audience, interviewing some people. Great chat. Ended up on TMZ Sports, interviewing MJF's parents. So you never know what's going to happen. Stay tuned for that. And we will see you next week on another episode of The Wrestling Hour.